Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we have an update on Sean Hogg. He, you may remember, is the man who committed the R of a 13-year-old girl. Instead of getting a prison sentence, he received 270 hours community service. That's sending some message out, isn't it? Saying that, you can do this to a 13-year-old girl and you're only going to get a bit of community service. Beats prison. Well, there's two appeals going in, of course. One from the prosecution, who's saying that the sentence is far too light and it does need to be a jail sentence. And the other is from Hogg himself, who's trying to get the conviction overturned. Let us hope that he is unsuccessful in his bid to get it overturned, and that the prosecution are very successful in getting him a very long jail sentence. However, it seems the courts are determined that he doesn't do a single day in jail because he's been back to court again for breaching the order giving him 270 hours work. He's had to go back, and the court has seen fit to not put him in jail even though he broke the order. We're going to take a look at this article to see why they are determined that the aura of children must never go to jail. Here goes. Now, I suspect Humza Yousaf is very, very proud of changing the law to such an extent that grown men can do these things to children and not have to go to jail. It sounds like it's right up his street. But this is the effect of what happens when you get SNP justice. And of course, I'm using the word justice totally inappropriately because there is no justice here whatsoever. But we're going to have a look at this. So Fury as soft touch SNP, as 21-year-old Ara of children, not women, child, dodges jail again despite breaching the community order for attacking the schoolgirl who was 13 in a park. Sean Hogg was convicted of R-ing the girl at Dalkeith Country Park in Midlothian. So, a pervert who dodged jail after committing a terrible crime against a 13-year-old girl, thanks to the new SNP soft touch guidance from Humza Yousaf as his time as Justice Minister. He walked free after breaching the court order he was given for doing that particular crime. So he gets a 270-hour court order, breaches it, and then still doesn't go to prison. What have you got to do to a child in Scotland to go to prison? I just ask out of information. It's not that I'm interested in doing anything, you understand, but I just want to know what the level is so that we can actually attack these politicians with that, because this is absolutely awful. Sean Hogg was convicted this year of doing the terrible things to a child at Dalkeith Country Park in Midlothian, but the case caused outrage after the 21-year-old from Hamilton in Lanarkshire avoided being sent to prison because of his age. He's over 18, automatically an adult. Therefore, he goes to prison. He's an adult. And none of this crap, because if he's not mentally astute enough to understand the folly of his crime at 21, how can the SNP say a 13 or 14-year-old is old enough to understand what their gender is and be allowed to take life-altering medication? You can't have it both ways. If they're mature enough at 13, then they're damn well sure mature enough at 21 to do 6, 7, 8 years in a man's prison. Anyway, instead, he was placed on a community payback order, which includes supervision and carrying out 270 hours of unpaid work. But the R of children, who is said to plan to appeal against his conviction and faces a Crown appeal against his unduly lenient sentence, as mentioned before, he appeared at the High Court in Edinburgh yesterday and admitted breaching the order. So he breaches the order, he admits breaching the order, and he still hasn't been put in jail. What do you have to do? Donald Findlay Casey, defending, said that on behalf of his client he'd tendered a full apology to the court. So he didn't put the apology in, he had to get his KC to do it. He added, I have, in what I think best might be described as clear and unequivocal terms, explained to him the opportunity afforded to him by the court. Mr. Finley explained that Hogg had carried out the equivalent of 100 hours of the unpaid work order. So not actually doing the 100 hours of unpaid work. He'd done the equivalent of that, whatever that means. We need to be told what he is doing as punishment. Because if he's not actually doing the work, what is this equivalence of? It's not right, is it? He does this to a child. He doesn't even have to do the court order. Anyway, he added he's currently waiting a placement to complete the remaining 169 hours. He revealed that Hogg was now in a relationship with a woman who knows of his background. What woman would possibly get in a relationship with someone who does that to children? She needs to be examined. He said he is also taking steps to address what has been in the past a problem for him, a problem with alcohol. That is not an excuse. That is not a mitigating circumstance when you do any crime. So we just completely ignore the alcohol system. Mr. Finley said Hogg had been alcohol free for 4 weeks. Well, whoopie-doo. What does he want? A medal? The barrister said that due to a mix-up, Hogg did not receive his medication for the ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Again, claiming another thing that, this will get me out of jail free. I've got ADHD. It means I can do things to children. But that issue had been resolved. It's more bullshit and lies, isn't it? Anyway, he told the court it appeared that Hogg had not understood that 10 o'clock did not mean 10 a.m. or 11 o'clock, adding he can begin to try to build something or he can sit in prison. And given those two choices, I can't understand why he would do anything other than apply himself to the first option. I think everybody wants the second option. The sentencing judge, Lord Lake, said, I am minded in respect of the admitted breach simply to admonish and take no further action. Lord Lake said he noted there was no concerns of reoffending. Well, Lord Lake may not have any concerns, but I think the good people of Lanarkshire may well have concerns. This is a guy that's done something to a child. That's in there. The very fact that that's in there, that means he is likely, and we all know about recidivism, we all know that criminals are far more likely to reoffend. I don't know why anyone would say there's no concerns about reoffence. Of course there is. This judge must see the same old faces time and time again. Anyway, Lord Lake asked Hogg, are you willing to comply with all the terms of the community payback order? He replied, yes, my lord. Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman Russell Findlay said, due to the SNP Quango's under 25 sentencing guidelines, serious criminals like this are avoiding a jail sentence. But having flouted his community service, this child Ara is still allowed to remain free. Law-abiding Scots may well wonder what it would take for him to be locked up. The original sentence in this case was devastating to his victim, and she is entitled to feel further sickened at this latest soft touch treatment. If he attacks again, Humza Yousaf needs to sit in that dock. He was the Justice Minister that brings this in. And I'll tell you who else needs to sit in that dock. The judge that didn't put him in prison. The pair of them. They can all spend the next 10 years in the same cell, looking at each other, loathing each other. In April, Hogg was found guilty of assaulting, threatening and R-ing the girl on various occasions. It wasn't a one-off. On various occasions between March the 3rd and June the 10th in 2018. But the case caused widespread anger when Lord Lake said sentencing guidelines stated that rehabilitation rather than punishment should be the primary consideration for criminals under 25. No. Someone like this needs to have his balls removed and then jailed. And anyone who does anything like this, and involving children, actually they just need a bit of rope. And then you don't ever have to worry about recidivism. You don't ever have to worry about offending a second time. It's the one way the public feels safe that criminal will never commit a crime like it, or indeed anything else, again. Anyway, I'm going to stop there and come up because I can see I will get angry. We need to ask Humza Yousaf, what is the minimum level of crime against a child that will guarantee you go to prison? Find what the level is. Just let us know. Can you do this? Can you do that? How many times can you do it? What's the minimum age? What's this? Find out what the level is. Find out what, in his mind, he thinks is a jailable offence when you're offending against a child. I think we know where they want it to be. They want it to be you can do anything and don't go to jail, and in fact it won't even be a crime. I think that's where they're going. That's ultimately the direction of travel for the SNP. And not just the SNP, the hard left as well. They're all the same, aren't they? All the teachers in school pushing the same agenda. But it's just not right. It's immoral, it's wrong. And then you have the Justice Secretary, who is now the First Minister, who is allowing this to happen. What's the message he's sending out? He's saying, children in Scotland, doesn't matter, they're not safe, but we're not going to punish anyone. We're not going to send anyone to jail for these things. It's fine, they're just fodder. Just let them, they're just there. Just let them use fruit. Low-hanging fruit. That's what that is. And that is what Humza Yousaf thinks of people in Scotland. It's wrong, he's wrong, and he needs to be out of office. And we need some hard lines in the justice system. Not just to punish, but to send a message to others who are thinking about it. That this will be the result. If you start sticking a few 30-year sentences on, and start sticking a few 30-year sentences on for politicians, and I tell you, the law will change dead quick. And I shall stop there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, protect your kids, and make sure that people like Sean Hogg, everybody knows who they are and what they are. Goodbye.